Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Tanie Codes. In this tutorial, we're going to start with our control statements, which means we're starting with our if statement, our switch case statement, our nested if else statement. So today we'll be starting with if statement. It is used if you want to execute part of your code conditionally, so it won't be executed if that certain condition does not meet the criteria. Then we have else block, so the else block is going to execute whatever that is inside that block if didn't meet the criteria. So for example, if you're making a code or a program that shows if a learner has passed or not, so if the learner maybe has 50% upwards, they've passed, 50% low, they have failed. So we can say if the learner has 50%, the computer is going to execute pass, else the computer is going to execute failed. So that's how we can use our if else statement. So to explain if else statement today, we're going to build a simple fun program. So our program is going to tell the user if they've entered an even number or an odd number. So what we need to do, we need the user to input any number they want, and then the program is going to execute if the number is even or odd. So like I said, firstly we need the user to input their own number. So that's going to be an integer. So we're going to say int, and then the name of our variable is going to be called user number, or you can just say number. And then we do not assign anything to this variable because we want the user to input their own number. And then what we need to do after declaring our user number, we need to prompt the user to input that number so that the user knows what to do. So we're going to say cout enter number, and then we're gonna add an end line just so that it's neat. And then we need to receive that number, so we're going to use our same command, and then we're going to say user number. And then so now what we left to write a code that's going to check if the user has input an even number or an odd number. That's where our if statement comes in. So the syntax of if statement, you say if, then you put your open and close parentheses, and then inside here you put in your condition, so you put in your argument. So now we need to find a way for the computer to know if it is even or odd number. So then now we're going to use our operator, our modular operator. I'm gonna make a video later on this code and explain operators, but for now just know that we need to use our modular operator. So our modular operator works like this. I had previously explained in my previous video, but let me explain again. So our modular operator works like that. It gives out the remainder of two dividends. So if we say 5 divided by 2, it's going to give us a 1, so it's going to give us a remainder. That's how our modular works. So our modular looks like this. It's actually a percentage sign. This is our modular operator. So here we're going to use our modular operator because it's going to be simpler. So we're going to say if the user inputs an even number, when we modulate that number by 2, our answer should be 0. And then if they input an odd number, if we modulate that number with 2, it's going to give us obviously an odd number. So let me try and explain it and put it over here maybe. So if our user say inputs a 5, our computer is going to say 5 modulo 2, and obviously the answer over is going to be 1. So now the computer is going to know that if the answer here is greater or equal to 1, then they've entered an odd number. So now our answer is greater or equals to 1, so this is an odd number. Number. And then if our user inputs, for example, 4, and then our computer is going to modulate that by 2, so I'm going to say modulate 2, and then the answer is going to be 0. So this is less than 1. So our computer is going to know that okay, the user has input an even number. So now whatever let's say we need to put it inside this. So I'm going to say here if inside our parentheses we're going to write out our argument. So if user number, if user number modulated by 2 is equals to 0. So here we said if user number modulated by 2 is equals to 0, then our user has inputted an even number. So now we have to put in what computer should console out in our console. So we have to put in our curly bracket and say cout, you have entered you have entered an even number. So okay, let me quickly remove this over here. So our if statement goes like this. It's going to say if inside we put in our argument or condition. So we say if user number, so what the user has input or entered inside the console modulated by 2 is equals to 0, then the computer should console out you have entered an even number. So if the user has inputted maybe a 4 and then we divide that 4 with 2 and the answer is equal to 0, then the user has inputted an even number. And we're gonna put in else. So else, which means the user did not input an even number, we're going to say open and close our curly brackets and we're gonna say cout, you have entered an odd number. So let me try and explain again what we've done so far. We want to create a program that's going to tell the user if they've entered an even or an odd number. So to do that, we're going to use one of our control statement, which is if else statement. And if else statement, it works when you want to execute a certain code according to the criteria. So if the criteria agrees or the criteria meets the argument or meets the condition, then whatever that's inside our if statement block is going to execute it, else or otherwise they're going to execute whatever is inside our else statement. So to do that, we need to first declare a variable that's going to store whatever the user has entered. So we declared that variable as an integer, a whole number, and we did not assign anything because we want the user to input their own number. And then we've prompted the user to input the number so that the user knows they should enter a number. And then we receive the number and we save it in our cin command. Then what we left to do is write a program that's going to tell the computer what to do. So then we use our if else statement. The syntax is if, then you put in your close and open and close parentheses, and then you put in your condition inside this open and close parentheses, and then you put in the curly brackets. Inside the curly bracket is a code, it's a block of code that should be executed if whatever the user has entered meets the criteria, else they should console out this. So now our condition says if the user number, so whatever the user has entered as their number modulated by 2 is equals to 0. So this again is an operator. I'm going to explain operators in my later in the course, but this is an equal operator. So we did not use equals to like just equals to, because this equals to is used to assign a value. So to compare values to see if they're equal, we use double equals. So we put in 2 equals. So as I was saying, if the user number, so if the number that the user has entered modulated by 2 is equals to 0, which means that number is an even number, so the computer is going to execute whatever is inside this if block. Else, if the user has inputted an odd number, or I don't know, but if the user has inputted an odd number, then you're going to execute this block of code. So if the user did not input an even number, they inputted something else, it's going to execute this block of code, our otherwise block. So we can call it an otherwise. And then after here, we're pretty much done with our program, and let's run it and see how it works. Now our console says enter number, so we're going to enter a number. Maybe we're gonna enter 11. then you have entered an odd number, because 11 divided by 2 is going to give us a remainder of 1. So 1 is not equals to 0. So that's why it's outputting you have entered an odd number, because 11 modulated by 2, it gives us a number which is not equals to 0. So that's how we know Hori, our user has input an odd number. Now let's try and put in a correct number so that you can see how our computer works. It says enter a number. Now we're gonna enter 20. You have entered an even number, so 20 modulated by 2 is equals to 0. There's no reminder, so now our computer knows that since there's no reminder, our answer is 0. The user has inputted an even number. So I'm sure now you have an idea on how we can use our if statement and also our nested if statement. Nested just means that we have an if statement inside an if statement. So we have if statement and another if statement inside of that. It's nested, so like it's nested. So this is pretty much for it today. In my next video, I'm going to talk about if else statement. So basically what we'll be doing there, we're going to write a program that's going to output what type of a triangle our user has entered. So that notification bell so that you can be notified when I publish that video. And if you have seen value in this video, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment in the comment section, and also share this video to anyone who you think might be interested in learning C++. Thank you for watching.